following this breaking news, if you are just joining us, of a crane that has fallen across Mercer. We want to get right down to KOMO's Suzanne Fawn, who appears to be speaking with somebody in the field right now.
Some kind of an
So this is the transportation chair.
Let's have a pit in your heart for the families and anybody involved. But it raises the question of safety and the importance of safety, and not just of those that are working in construction projects all around the region, but those of us that are pedestrians that that walk through here on a daily basis or drive through.
How many cranes are there in this area? I think people are all blown away by the massive, fast projects that go up.
Yeah, the South Lake Union is the most significant urban revitalization in America today, and we've had as many as 25 cranes at any given time on the skyline here with construction. I mean, this is an economic boon to the region and the city. There's a tremendous amount of activity, but mostly it affects traffic on a day-to-day basis. We haven't had anything quite this devastating.
Have we had a crane fall before?
To my knowledge, no. Several years ago, we had an incident in the city of Bellevue where a crane came down, but nothing in my recollection in Seattle.
And looking at the scene, where did the crane, this is not live, so you can turn around and you can point this out.
Sure.
Give us some perspective, what and where and what direction did this crane fall?
Sure. The crane was being dismantled on one of two technology buildings that were nearing occupancy at the corner.
Show me.
Yeah.
Do you know, did it come from the top of that?
It came from the top of the easternmost building at the corner of Fairview Avenue and Mercer Street. So just on the on-ramp on Mercer Street when you enter I-5. The crane had been was being dismantled by crews throughout the day, and it toppled to the south onto the median and the eastbound lanes of Mercer Street.
And given the amount of traffic on Saturday?
Thank goodness this occurred on a Saturday. There are 4 cars that appear to be affected right now by the crash. One of them, there's severe damage to the car, and it appears to be a Seattle Fire Department tarp that's been laid over the top of the car. Had this been a work day at this same time, there would have been 10 times the volume of traffic, and it could have been catastrophic.
And Mike, may I ask you this question again? What was happening when this crane fell?
The crane was being dismantled by crews. There was a secondary crane working on it during the day. The buildings are very near completion, and the crane was being taken down. I watched it earlier in the day.
The same project, the very same project. You watched it?
Yeah,
Part of your...
Well, it's just part of understanding the community. I watched the crane being taken down. I know the buildings are very near completion, and it's clear the work that was going on.
And this building, the Google building here, I assume the one in front of us,
yeah.
Damage, is it a Google building?
Yeah. One of these 2 buildings is a Google building.
And the damage that's done to that building, is it because the crane was reaching up that high, or how is it that building is damaged?
Well, the cranes normally, and I'm not a construction expert, but cranes normally, as we see them, construction cranes, tower over the building itself so they can function. And at the time that I walked past this earlier in the afternoon, the crane had been dismantled down to the cab where the operator works, and it appears that a section of that, roughly at that height of the crane above the building, toppled. And it appears that, or you can see the damage to the southern elevation of the building on the top floor where the crane hit.
How tall is this crane today?
The crane, I can't tell you specifically. I don't know. That should be easy enough to find, though.
Is there anything else that I really need to know in light of what we're looking at? 4 cars, a crane on the ground, and possibly the operator is deceased?
I can't say if there was an operator in it or not. We don't know if anybody is deceased.
And again, putting things in perspective, given all the cranes in the city of Seattle that have put us on the front page of many newspapers, we've never had something so serious.
Yeah, we haven't had something so serious, but it just raises the importance of paying good attention to safety, and particularly at the height and the frenzy of construction and development that's going going on in the city, which is good for the city. Maybe this is very much of an economic boon for us. I know for a fact that safety is first and foremost for the companies that are developing these structures and that are working on it, and for the labor force that's working on it. That's something that comes up in every meeting that I attend. But we do have to be careful, and particularly when pedestrians and those that are driving on a weekend are involved.
For the record, who's my first and last name and your title?
Mike McQuaid, McQuaid. I am the transportation chair of the South Lake Union Community Council.
Thank you so much. Can you go ahead and just I'm going to ask you for a phone number.
Yeah. 206. And feel free to call me.
And as you just heard from that transportation official, we're learning much more about what happened as we take another live look at Mercer Street from the street level, where a crane has fallen across Mercer and landed on several cars. Here is what we have learned so far. That crane was being dismantled throughout the day. At some point this afternoon, a section of that crane fell from, it appears, the roof of one of those buildings under construction along the north side of Mercer and landed on traffic. That transportation official also saying there is a tarp from the fire department over one of the cars, insinuating that there could be casualties involved with this collapse.
Yeah, we have talked to a source who does say that there are definitely injuries here. We hope to learn more about those in pretty short order here. But that was Mike McQuaid, and a lot of interesting information from him. He said he's with the South Lake Union Community Council, and that he, again, as Gabe was saying, noticed earlier in the day that this was being dismantled. This just in from Seattle Fire. The AP reporting now that 4 people have been killed after this construction crane fell on the street. This is about 3:30 this afternoon, so a very sad update. What we've been wondering is, could anybody survive this? And perhaps there are survivors, we do not know. But what we can tell you, the Associated Press reporting now that Seattle Fire, a spokesperson confirming that there are 4 casualties here after a crane collapsed on Mercer Street in South Lake Union this morning. We learned from a community council member that that crane was being dismantled on top of one of 2 buildings. One of those buildings in that area is a Google building. We're not sure exactly which building that was on, but as it was being dismantled right down to the cab, it appears a section of that toppled onto Mercer Street, which of course is just a very, very busy thoroughfare. It is a gateway into our city. In fact, that transportation person that we spoke to, part of that community council, said that had this been a work day, there would actually have been 10 times the volume of traffic. But just an absolute tragic day in our city. We are thinking of the families affected by this and the firefighters and all of the first responders on the scene dealing with this, as we now come to learn that 4 people have died on this Saturday in our city.
And that transportation official, if you were listening to his live interview just a couple minutes ago, also pointed out that we have seen an economic boom in that neighborhood in the South Lake Union area. That is one of the reasons that Seattle has held that title of being the city with the most cranes in the United States over the past couple years. It has represented economic boom in this city and wealth in this city, what many have considered to be an incredible transformation within the city of Seattle. But today, a dark day involving that construction. Again, as we have just learned, a section of that crane that was being dismantled off a building under construction along the north side of Mercer Street collapsed as it was dismantled, falling from the roof, landing on several cars. And as Michelle told you a couple minutes ago, we have just learned the AP is reporting 4 people were killed. We are hoping to get more information from Seattle Fire and Seattle Police during a press conference in the next few minutes. First, I want to see if we have Tammy Mutasa live still at the scene. She has been down there along the street at this scene telling us what first responders are doing, as well as what so many witnesses have seen along that street. Is Tammy live with us now?
All right, well, certainly Tammy is efforting interviews at this point. And again, as we look at this scene, we haven't seen a whole lot of activity. Actually, I'm hearing in my ear we do have Tammy, so let's get to her. She is live on the scene. Tammy, we can hear and see you, so go right ahead. Fill us in. What do you know?
All right. Well, Michelle and Gabe, this is the news a lot of people have feared to hear. I mean, you're looking at that damage and you're seeing the crane that split right onto that car. And right now, I just want to read this tweet that Mayor Jenny Durkin just tweeted a few minutes ago. And she says there has been a major incident at Fairview Avenue and Mercer. Please avoid the area. Seattle Fire, Seattle Dot, OEMS Seattle and Seattle PD are coordinating our response. My thoughts and prayers are with those killed and injured. Those are the words from Mayor Jenny Durkin just a few minutes ago. Now, we are waiting to hear these words ourselves from Seattle Fire Department, but we heard that the AP is reporting that 4 people have been killed in this horrific crane collapse. You have heard from witnesses who are talking about how they heard the earth move, witnesses who saw this collapse from their apartment windows, people who are out here just utterly stunned, and you're looking at the magnitude of this damage on these cars, and you can imagine that something like this could happen. So we are again waiting to hear from officials. I just again want to read the tweet from Mayor Durkin. She's saying, my thoughts and prayers are with those who have been killed and injured, and we are hoping to confirm this information with the top officials of the city who we're expecting to hear from at any moment now. But just a devastating and heart-wrenching scene out here, especially after what the mayor has just tweeted out, that people have been killed in this horrific, horrific, horrific crane collapse. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Tammy. And we certainly echo her words